Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We hope that you subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Google Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you find your podcast. We have an amazing interview for you today. We're speaking with Hari and Deepti, the author and illustrators of the beautiful picture book, The Seekers. Before we invite Hari and Deepti in, we want to let you know we have a brand new Reading with Your Kids certified great read. That's right, How to Catch a Keeper by Stephanie Mulligan is our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read. We love this book. We think that How to Catch a Keeper by Stephanie Mulligan is a fascinating book you and your kids will love to read over and over again. Based on the author's experience, How to Catch a Keeper takes readers to beautiful Casco Bay along the coast of Maine. There we meet siblings Luke and Layla as they prepare to go on an adventure on a working lobster boat. We learn all about lobsters from Captain Tom, who teaches us how to bait the lobster traps and how distinctively colored buoys are used to identify the traps. We also learn how lobsters are measured and how egg-bearing lobsters are returned to the ocean. On our cruise through Casco Bay, we encounter seagulls, seals, and cormorants. We really appreciate the glossary of lobstering lingo that appears at the end of the story. Connie Rand has created wonderful illustrations that perfectly complement Stephanie Mulligan's rhyming story. How to Catch a Keeper is a great story that can inspire family conversation about cooperation, conservation, and how food gets to our table. That's our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read, Stephanie Mulligan's How to Catch a Keeper. We also want to let you know that you can catch the Reading with Your Kids podcast live at the Chicago Toy and Game Fair, November 23rd and 24th at Navy Pier in Chicago. This is going to be an incredible event. We are creating a totally interactive and immersive experience at our booth. You can come and be a part of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Check out one of the many books that we will have on display. Come on up. Give us a quick review. Your review could be used on a future episode of the podcast, and your review will be turned into a little mini podcast that we will email to you that you and your family can keep forever. There's going to be all sorts of amazing activities at the Chicago Toy and Game Fair, and you and your family can experience it all at a savings of $3 off per ticket. When you go to shytag.com and use the promo code RWYK, our initials, Reading with Your Kids, our initials, RWYK, use that on checkout, and you can save $3 off each ticket to this year's event of the year, the Chicago Toy and Game Fair, the largest toy and game fair in North America, November 23rd and 24th at Navy Pier in Chicago. Joining us on the line right now from Mumbai in India. It's a husband and wife team that has created an absolutely amazing debut picture book. The name of the book is The Seekers. Please welcome to the show, Hari and Deepti. Hari and Deepti, how are you?
Hi, oh, very good.
Hi, Jade. This is Hari.
And this is Deepti.
Yeah, and thank you for having us on the podcast.
I'm really excited to have you on the podcast. You know, we here at the podcast, we receive literally dozens of unsolicited books each week. And when the book came in from your publisher, I opened up the book and I was stunned. The art is incredible. The story is very, very powerful, but the art is really incredible. And it is not art that you would typically see in a kid's book, but it absolutely captivated my attention. And I immediately was online saying, I want these authors and illustrators on the show. So congratulations, the Seekers. Talk about as we say here in the States, hitting it out of the ballpark on your first time up at bat. The debut picture book is just amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, we are very excited about our first book too.
Yeah, we actually, the first book, we did want to make it an, like a honest representation of our artwork, and we want to make sure that we make the kind of book that we want to read. So, yeah.
Why don't, Deepti, if you could tell us quickly, or not quickly, take as much time as you want, but tell us the story, because I really want to delve into the artwork. But tell us the story that we'll experience when we read The Seekers.
Seekers is about this imaginary village which lives a very sustainable life, and it's about how everything is perfect in their world, and something goes wrong, their way of life is affected, and it's a group of people who go seeking answers. And it is actually reflecting on what's happening in today's world, the climate change, the changing weather patterns, and we just wanted to weave a story and create this imaginary world which immerses the readers into that world.
You know, Deepti, as you were speaking and talking about this perfect world, and then suddenly something happens and it changes, and that perfect kind of order is upset. As you were speaking, I thought about the fact that for a lot of kids, that's the reality of their life. Yes, climate change is happening, but for a lot of kids, they're living and they're 2 or 3 years old and they're just happy. They have this family and they have a home and they have a routine and it's awesome. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, it's time to go to school. And that's a big change in their life. And it's like, what am I going to do now? So I think, I think this is a great book because I think we all experience that kind of trauma in our lives where, things seem to be running perfectly and then all of a sudden something happens and everything changes.
Yes, I mean, that is another way of looking at it. Like, yes, everyone goes through change, and it's a good way of introducing kids to change. Mm-hmm. But you also see that kids are becoming more aware of what's happening regarding the environment. You have child activists who are promoting, who are talking about these climate changes more than the adults are worried about. It's them who knows that they're gonna, this is what they're gonna be living in. This is going to be their reality. So I guess, I guess that's why we.
Yeah, I mean, I think like our work has always like when we do art pieces, it's always explored the idea of humans and nature living in harmony, mm-hmm. and that's a strain that we wanted to carry across to even the story that we write.
Yeah.
And we felt like we should talk about a cause that we actually believe in, and that's the reason The Seekers is happening. And I'm very happy about our first book.
Yeah. Hari, if you could talk about, I mentioned that the illustrations in the book are just, they just blew me away. And they're very different than illustrations that we would typically see in a lot of children's books. You and Deepti have a very unique style. Can you talk about the style and how you created these illustrations?
Yeah. So we both have our own different styles of illustration, like as separate artists. Like, Deepti is a trained artist, like she paints, and I have a graphic design background. But the paper cut art is something that we both can manage. Like we manage to mix our styles,
and it's a third style.
And it's like a third style of its own. And we've been doing this art for a while. And when we had the opportunity to make a children's book, we did realize that the style is very different from what usually you see in a children's book section. but we also like the idea of exploring our style and
Yeah, like challenging ourselves, because our art was primarily very simple colors, but when we wrote the story, we realized that the colors are so important for this book, and it was a series of experimentation and working together, and some failed experiments and trying again, and that's why this book did take us.
There was a huge learning curve for us as well,
and I guess this book took us. That's why this book took 3 years for us to complete.
Talk a little bit more, please, about what you mean by paper cut art. What is it? What's the process? How are these illustrations created?
So paper cut art is primarily we try and create a scene using layers and layers of paper, and so we actually start with a sketch every time. And then we break down the sketch into multiple layers of paper. And these are actually hand cut and assembled into like a scene or a diorama. And we are known for our paper cut art, which uses light. So we use a backlight to create this silhouette kind of a form. And so for every page of this book, we have actually created a physical 3D diorama. It's actually assembled, lit, shot, and then taken into editing if we have to, and then it makes to the page.
Wow, what an intense process. How long does it typically take you to create one image that we see on the page?
Some of the images that we have created, some of those did take us a month.
Wow.
Because some of those had a lot of colors, conflicting colors, and like there are some places where we are using a lot of warm red, orange, and then we have like the stark blue, and to figure out how to get that done. And we wanted to be very honest with our process, so we wanted to get those colors the way we saw it and the way it was, what we were experiencing while we were creating the art. We wanted to reflect that in our book as well. And we had a great team helping us out as well, and our editor, our agent, and our art director, they were very patient with us. They understood that this is not the usual process, and it's slightly more elaborate. So they gave us our time.
The process that you're describing is similar to what I imagine goes on when creating a movie. You know, building the set and, you know, working on the lighting and all of that. You have everything except for human actors in the pictures.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly similar, except that when we assemble a scene and we shoot and we use it, like we send it for approvals, and if there's a change that comes back, we have to go back to the drawing board and like start all over. So it's a much longer process.
Yeah, but I think we had a lot of fun. It was painful at times as well, but it was an experience working on this book.
Now I have to ask, because I've been married to my beautiful wife now close to 30 years, and we have a great time together. But sometimes when she comes into my world to help me help me with the project I'm working on, or if I go into her classroom to help teach a lesson, sometimes that can be kind of challenging. And we often end the process by saying, well, thank you, we're not going to do that again real soon. What was it like working husband and wife team, spending all of these hours together creating The Seekers?
I mean, I love it. We've been working together. We've been married for close to 11 years now. Yeah. And like we've been creating art.
I think since we've been dating, we've been we've been working together on projects, but this collaboration started in late 2010 or 11 or 11. But it has tested our relationship as well. There are arguments and fights, but we've kind of learned to give each other space, even though we work together. We understand each other's strengths, weaknesses, and I guess that's very important. And this project especially because it demanded a certain dedication, when one of us was, and it actually it was parallel to what the story talks about. So we were like, there were times when one of us would be like, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore. But one of us, we would pull each other up.
Well, that's what should be happening in marriages, and that's really beautiful. And I was going to ask you how the collaboration started. Were you collaborating first and then fell in love? But you just told me that you came together as a couple first and then started collaborating.
Yeah, I mean, we, like I said, we had our own separate styles of art, and we met in Bombay or Mumbai, and once we got married, Deepti moved to Denver and for a project, and then that got extended, and then I joined her, and that's where in Denver is where we started creating art, and we started collaborating more on, we would start with small art shows here and there, and
that's
just as a way to do something else other than the kind of work.
I had a corporate job, so I kind of made a shift after our time in Denver. We were there for nearly 5.5 years. So after that,
and we've realized that this art form is something that we both contribute equally, and it's just a beautiful art form that we create. And that's the part where we start collaborating, maybe in 2009-10 onwards.
I'm curious. Denver is one of the big cities here in the States, but I haven't been to Bombay or Mumbai. But just my producer is in Mumbai, and she talks about the city, and it just seems so immense, and there just seems to be this very different energy. Does that contribute to the creative process that you both experience?
Yes, it does. I mean, there is no other place like Mumbai. It is all your senses and all your emotions in one place. And we also realize that our work gets inspired by where we are in that moment. Like when we were in Colorado, our work was serene and very white and gold, and as we have traveled, and then we moved to Mumbai, colors started appearing in our art again, and I guess Mumbai has inspired us in a lot of ways as well, and it is also the inspiration also comes from Mumbai. Things that are changing around the city as well is one of the main inspiration for this book.
Yeah, and I'm raised in Mumbai. So I'm sorry, I keep saying Bombay because it changed to Mumbai much later. So I'm still used to saying Bombay, but it's a city I grew up in, and I see how it's changed in the past 38 years, and that was also a seed of how our story started. We keep seeing the place where we stay in Mumbai. There's a mountain that's right opposite, and every day at 6 the dynamites would go off, and they're actually excavating the mountain to make buildings or whatever, and we see a change that's happening in the natural resources that's around the city. And the city is constantly growing.
Yeah, which is very few, and whatever's left is getting wiped out. So I guess that was one of the inspiration for this book.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I love to ask authors and illustrators are, what kind of conversations do you think families can have while experiencing your book? And I imagine there's a lot a family can talk about, not only about the story of the Seekers, but also the illustrations and the art. And what do you think? What kind of conversations do you think families can have?
I think this, if you look closely, there are some Easter eggs in the book. There are some illustrations that we have left. Every page, if you go back, you might notice something new. And, I don't know. I guess it could be about how certain images were created. We also want kids to create their own world. We love taking workshops for kids, and that's one thing that we see, that everyone has this imaginary world, and kids are so good with their imaginations, and they're so quick with their ideas. So I don't know. When we see kids react to our work, we've had a few kids say that we want to live there, and that's the reaction we want from this book as well.
Yeah. Harry, if a family is reading The Seekers and they decide, I want to try this, I want to try to put together illustrations, art like this, what's the first step?
Like Deepti said, we do take a lot of workshops for kids, and it always starts with a sketch for us. The way to start working on an art similar to this is to let the kids draw an imaginary scene and then break it down into different layers, and then you can assemble maybe something that looks like a tunnel book. And
yeah, it's very simple. Start simple, and then just have fun experimenting.
One of the things too, as you were talking about the layers of the picture, I think that would be a really great exercise for families, is to start talking about pictures as layers, and because I think that can not only open up kids' eyes, but open up adults' eyes to experience illustrations in a different way, and then I think also experience life in the same way. And that way, when they're going to school, maybe they're looking at situations and challenges that they're facing in school. They're able to look at them and kind of break down the layers so it doesn't seem so overwhelming to them.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
That's a great analogy.
Well, tell us this. I'm really keeping my fingers crossed here. This is your debut picture book. When we hear debut, are we implying that there are going to be more picture books in the future from you two?
Yes, we hope so. And we do have some more stories that we want to share with the world. So we really hope that there are more books to come.
Yes. Well, we're excited, and we definitely hope that there are more books to come. In the meantime, where can folks go to learn a little bit more about the Seekers and also learn more about the artwork from Hari and Deepti?
We do have a social presence. We are on Instagram. We do share a lot of behind the scene images of our book, and it's Hari and Deepti, and we also have our website, which needs to be slightly more updated.
Yeah.
But yes, and our Facebook.
Excellent. And what's the web address?
It's harianddeepti.com. It's HARIANDDEEPTI.com.
Excellent. We've had so much fun speaking to the authors and illustrators of The Seekers, a really, really powerful and absolutely beautiful debut picture book from Hari and Deepti. Hari and Deepti, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
we had a great time talking to you. Yeah, thank you.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We have a fascinating conversation about neurodiversity with Jessica Laurel Kane. She is the author of The Girl Who Was Born with Glue in Her Brain. She's also the author of Book of Hearts. This is the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Earlier on today, we told you that Stephanie Mulligan's How to Catch a Keeper is our latest Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read. Our Certified Great Read program has helped so many authors get the word out about their book. You know, there's so many children's books that are published every single week, every single month. It is so difficult for an author to really break through that crowd. There's so many books out there, and it's so difficult to let families know that they should take a minute to consider adding your book to their family library. Well, the Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program is doing that for so many authors. We have a fantastic panel of kids, parents, and teachers, and if they think that your book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a certified great read. And with that status comes a number of promotional tools that can really, really help your book take off. You can find out all about it at our website, readingwithyourkids.com. We want to thank the folks who made today's show so very wonderful. Of course, we want to thank our guests, Hari and Deepti. Be sure to check out their absolutely stunningly beautiful picture book, The Seekers. I also want to thank my producer, who's also in Mumbai, Fatima Khan. Thank you so much, Fatima, for everything you do. Be sure to check out Fatima's blog at readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support that she gives me. I want to thank Augie the doggy for having my back here in the studio. And most of all, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking to you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.